Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Yes, we are a couple of minutes late, but as you noticed, Ben was good enough to join us from his car. His dedication knows no bounds. He stopped on the way home from work just to join us here tonight. So we are on episode 360, and we're going to talk a little bit about the bad and the ugly. So what that means is, well, Ben and I have always talked about how awesome it is to get into the woods. And frankly, we both still consider that the truth, 100%. But you know what? Enough people have asked me, and we have enough stories, and I think we can have a few laughs here, that there are some things, especially if you're new to it, that are probably going to suck. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of stuff that just sucks when there is, you're getting ready to go into the woods. Now, with most of these things, there's ways to mediate it. We're going to talk about that a little bit here tonight. And at the end of the day, honestly, it's still worth it to get out there. And I want to start and end on that note, as it is still totally worth getting out into the woods, regardless of what we talk about here. So what about you, Ben? What's your thoughts on this here tonight?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. Like a lot of times you talk to people, and the first thing they say is, "I can't do this because of the following reasons," and they're not always invalid reasons. They're legit things. Like, how do I deal with this? Or I'm used to doing this. Or how bad are the flies? The cold. Can I get too cold? And is there bad parts of it? There's absolutely. And oftentimes that's part of the type 2 fun, though. Like in the moment it kind of like is a challenge and you kind of like you're miserable, but later you remember it, your mind cleans it up and it's like, yeah, it was pretty miserable, but I had a blast, right?
I'd do it again in a heartbeat, you know what I mean? And a prime example of that we still joke about is one of the first camping adventures that Ben and I went to the waterfall. We did not prepare to be warm enough for it. Just like Ben said, you can get cold. That is something that sucks about camping. Generally at night, there's going to be a small spell, usually just before you get into your sleeping bag, where you're like, dude, I'm cold, I'm going to bed. And this is what we did. We got in bed only to realize, we're still cold. So the next night, we kind of just huddled around the fire, told stories, had a great time. We did get a little sleep, don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. But, I mean, we stayed up quite late, keeping the fire going, just kind of shivering and being like, you know what, I'm going to stay up a little longer by the fire where it's warm. And yeah, we're a little tired the next day. But now we look back on it, like Ben said, and we laugh about that, and I wouldn't have changed it for anything. I think it was a perfect thing for literally, I think it was our very first camping adventure together.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, outside of a provincial park when we were with the whole bushcrafting weekend. And that's exactly it. Like in that particular case, we had limited facilities, like there was no outhouse or anything like that. We were even setting up a tent there would be tricky. There was little flat, smooth ground, so we slept in hammocks, which was fine. But yeah, it was cold, and there were challenges to deal with that. But again, we both enjoyed it. We'd both probably do it again tomorrow if somebody said, "Hey, Ben, we might take an extra blanket this time, maybe some hand warmers, things like that."
Nope,
But
100%. We learn from it. And that's the thing with most of the sucky stuff. You tend to learn from it.
yeah, and you can over exaggerate how bad it's going to be, and it stops you from doing it. And I think that's one of the worst things. But being aware of it and being able to prep for it is really important. So I think we have some things we'd like to talk about. I think the obvious ones are the flies and the cold. I think everyone thinks of that right away.
Yep, and they are things that suck. But I mean, there's going to be bugs if you're in the woods. You can mediate it with bug spray. If you don't like bug spray, there's a bunch of natural things you can do. There's lemon balm and lemongrass and a few other things, bounty sheets. You can get those little mosquito clip-on things. There's ways to mediate it. Set up a campsite where there's always a breeze. That was one of the good things about the waterfall, was there was always a breeze. It kind of kept like the black flies, the mosquitoes, and all that away. The only real thing that hung around was kind of like the actual horse flies.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's true. And then also like the flies are usually in most places I've ever been, they can be really, really bad. Like no amount of fly dope or anything else will protect you from it. But it's only a short window. 2-3 weeks, maybe a month in some of the worst places. But usually it's just a couple of weeks and it goes away, and it's much, much more dealable after that. So not that the flies go completely away, but they don't swarm like they do in the bad time. So that's just, plan your trip maybe a bit better by a couple of weeks. Take some fly dope, make sure you have some way to get out, like a screen tent or something like that. All these things can really help. Another one, I mentioned it earlier, is just facilities. A lot of people like, I have to shower, I have to clean, or I can't just squat in the woods and go. I need a little bit more. And can that be a challenge for people? Absolutely. And I want to share this story. You've heard of thunder boxes.
Yep.
Thunder boxes are wonderful things, but they lack in two things: privacy and shelter.
Yeah, 100%. And for anybody that doesn't know what a thunderbox is, it's picture a box you do your business in. No walls, no nada. You know what I mean? Generally, there's some sort of bagging service, so you can kind of package this stuff up and take it out. But it's literally just a box with a hole.
Yeah. So we went camping one time, me and a bunch of guys, and when we got there, we had heard it was going to be a thunderbox, and we looked, and sure enough, it was a thunderbox. And it rained one of the days we were there. And if you've ever had to go in the woods and sit on a thunderbox in the middle of heavy rain, it is a unique type of miserable. It really is. Like, yeah, literally there with a poncho on. I got my toilet paper in under the poncho so it doesn't get wet, because toilet paper and water don't really mix very well. And you're sitting there and you're kind of just doing your thing, and you're trying to do it as quick as possible, but you're okay. You're not getting wet, but it's not. But then I sat there and I thought, and I looked around, and, it is a unique feeling, and being out in the woods when it's raining like that. And it was kind of cool. It backed onto a rock, and you had some beautiful trees and stuff around, and it wasn't too bad. But I can see the anxiety of somebody who hasn't ever experienced this, saying, well, is it going to be that bad? And it's not. It really isn't. Even in the most miserable condition, I still did not mind it that much.
And that's the thing with going to the bathroom in the woods. It is worse up here in your mind than it ever is actually going in the woods. If you can just get over the, oh, this is going to suck mentality, or the, oh, I don't like this, or it's dirty and stuff like that. First of all, it's only as dirty as you make it. It's no dirtier than a bathroom. You know what I mean? There is techniques to it. There are failed techniques versus good techniques. And I do suggest you practice at home, not necessarily as you're going, but find a position where you're comfortable in the position you need to be in to do your business, if that makes any kind of sense. Don't find out in the woods what works and what doesn't work. But the other thing is, it's really not that bad. You know what I mean? Once you find what works for you, it's really not bad, folks. It's more in your head. There is more elements to it. Like Ben was saying, sometimes you can get caught in the rain. I've never had the pleasure of using a thunderbox in the rain, but it's not bad.
The other thing, like people said, I need to wash my hair. I need to wash my body parts more frequently, and I do have advice for that. And it literally is for a lot of your body parts. We've talked about wet wipes, one wipes, things like that. That does a world of good. I can stay out much longer with a handful of those. And what I tend to do is I clean myself up by the fire. And at the end, I just throw the used ones in the fire, let it burn up, and I got no real waste to carry back. It's all gone. They're fully biodegradable and consumable in the fire. And that works well for me. For hair, honestly, it's as easy as warming up some water, taking a little bit of shampoo, wetting your hair, and then rinsing it out with the in the woods. You can do it. You bucket near a lake. It might be a little bit cold, but you'll get over it. And it's worth it.
Oh, 100%. Another good thing that Mel and I always used to do, especially when she was starting going in, take a good washcloth. And if you're in a river, you can literally bathe at the riverside, you know what I mean? Or better yet, as Ben said, warm up the water and just do a basin bath. Have a dish or something like that. We usually have like an old ice cream bucket that we pack stuff in to take in anyway, so it wasn't going to waste for room. And just warm some water up in that, take your cloth, rinse it out. Generally, Mileage is going to travel on this one. I generally don't use a lot of soap, if any, simply because I don't like putting that into the woods. You know what I mean? If I'm only out for a day or two, you can get a good clean off a cloth as long as you rinse your water a lot. You're not going to smell like flowers or soap or stuff like that, but it's going to get the sweat and the grime off. A little bit more elbow grease, you're going to be fine. If you're going a longer time, you can do like the shave soap or the environmental soap. Here's the thing, the environmental soap still says not to use it around rivers, so obviously it's not that great of enviro soap. It's all going to cause some problems out there. But you know what works really good, believe it or not, if you want to get clean, is wood ash. Like good, clean wood ash. You can rub it onto your skin with a little water and then rinse yourself off. You're gonna. It's like a body exfoliant. You may not like the smell if you don't like the smell of wood ash. I like it for what it's worth. But you can get super clean for that. And I mean, that's basically what soap is lye and wood ash. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, and sort of the same thing. I try to use the biodegradable soaps and stuff. Don't put it directly in the river if you can avoid it, but just minimize the amount you have to use if you do using it, and you should be fine.
Yep, 100%.
Another subject, and I think I mentioned to you in passing not too long ago. This is one that people say, especially for even hikes and overnight trips where you're going to be away from your vehicle. What do I do with my vehicle? And that has stopped me a couple of times. It's like you hear the nightmare stories of people coming back and their vehicle is gone, or their catalytic converter's missing, or somebody's beat up their car, or it's been towed or ticketed, or just a nasty letter saying you can't park here. And these things can be disturbing to somebody, honestly. But the reality is it doesn't happen as often as people like to say it does. And there are things you can do. So if you know people in the area, see if somebody can drop you off and pick you up. Then you don't have to leave a vehicle. If you're doing a through hike, this gets kind of trickier. You're going to need to either leave your vehicle at the end and have someone else drop you off at the beginning, or have a couple of vehicles where you can do the shuffle. And you've probably done the shuffle for a few trips.
Both you go to one end, drop one car, you hop in with the first guy, drive back to the start, you do your walk, you get to the second car, drive back to the first car, and then you all go home. That's the shuffle.
Yeah. And it has its challenges. I've done it with canoe trips and different types of trips, and it's doable when possible. And we've definitely done this. Have somebody you can call or some kind of way of signaling someone to come get you. Helps. The other thing is a lot of trail books and stuff like that will give you helpful locations of where it is okay to park. And also you can reach out to some locals sometimes, and they might be able to help you.
Something like that. That's one I picked up here. The ring light's getting in the way. There you go. Something like this. It has all the trails in it, and it lists a lot of spots that are free to park your vehicle or roads that are public access. All of that can be used to mediate. It's like, as long as it's a public access road and you're pulled on the side, you can leave a small note and just say, hey, I'm off hiking. It's going to, take care of half your problems. People that want to tow your rig because they think it's abandoned, they're just like, oh, this person is, just out hiking. So leave that you're hiking and when you expect to return, because then it also becomes a rescue device. If somebody comes back and sees, oh, hey, this guy was supposed to be here 7 days ago, and this car still hasn't moved, that's a problem.
Yeah. The only thing some people get nervous with that is then you've told everyone who walks by and looks at your vehicle how long you expect to be gone. So if you're gone for 3 nights, they're like, oh, I got 2 nights to come back. And
you do got to weigh your options and know your area, which is kind of the next step, is know your area or do your research. At the very minimum, look up what the crime rates are in that area, especially if you're new to it. Is it common for cars to be broken into? If there's like a bad break-in spree going on right when you decide that you're going to go camping, might be a time to reschedule, or like Ben said, find somebody to drop you off. But yeah, a little research goes a long way on this one. I think in all my years, once have I ever even been talked to and it was just a, hey, are you good kind of thing, you know what I mean? It was DNR kind of approached as I was coming out. I was walking down the road and they're like, yeah, hey, is that your car back down there? We've noticed it for the last couple days. We've been keeping an eye on it. You all good? And I'm like, yep, everything's cool. Just out camping. And they're like, all right, good stuff. And that was the end of it. That's literally the worst I've ever had.
And that's a good thing too, is reach out to a local authority. Usually the police department's a good place to start, and just leave them a message saying that, hey, I am going to be camping in this area. I'm leaving a vehicle at this location. So if anyone calls, it's not abandoned, things like that. They're less likely to have you towed, and they may actually give you some helpful advice, or even manage to give you some help in that regard. And they may also, I can't guarantee nothing, but they may do a couple of drive-bys just to check on it because they know it's there.
Yep. And of course, it goes without saying, don't call the emergency number. That would be the non-emergency number. Most police departments will have something like that. If you just check their websites, they'll be like non-emergency number. Usually you're going to talk to somebody that works at the desk, and they can kind of redirect, take notes, pass things on to the officers and stuff like that. Not a bad idea at all. And yeah, it is definitely something to think about. Depending on your area, I wouldn't let it deter you too much. I know my area, not a big deal. I keep things locked. I'm pretty good. You know what I mean? Ben's a little closer to a city and stuff like that. If I was just on the outskirts of that, I might be a little bit more hesitant just because you got more people. More people just means more chances for something to go wrong.
Although I was in Economy Falls, you know where that's to.
Yep.
And I had somebody leave a ton of garbage in the back of my truck. Like they figured, oh, that's a so rural, friendly area. I've generally had good luck with people in that area. But somebody thought they'd be a joker and threw a couple of big garbage bags of stuff in the back of my truck. And I didn't notice it because I didn't need the back of the truck for that particular trip. And it wasn't until I was driving down the highway and these bags started flying out of the back of my truck that I realized what was going on. And I'm just glad.
But you know what? Having a truck's almost a curse. I have been inside a Canadian Tire, just at the counters, looking out the windows, and watch people throw coffee cups in the back of my truck. Like, just as they're walking by, they down it and fire the cup in the back of the truck. Like, I don't know what that's all about, but anyway. Other things to think about when you're out there. If you're going to be tent camping, it kind of sucks if you get there and one, you've never built the tent and you're trying to figure that out first go, or if you're setting it up in the rain, or at night, or if something breaks. And you should have a contingency for if something breaks. If you break a pole, you should have a plan as to what you can do. Sometimes you can use a stick and get it back up and going, but don't let it deter you. It's one of those things, like, accept it for what it is. Yeah, it's a crappy situation, but how do you get over it? And generally with most of these things, if you keep that mentality, most of the stuff's not that bad. And yeah, there's a couple comments here I want to loop around to. When we're talking about the bathing stuff, dry shampoo for your hair, absolutely, that's an idea. Melissa uses that. I've used it in the past. There's some other stuff here too. That's dedication. I guess it's just folks talking about fishing. Okay, and I ditch my car roadside often. So yeah, it's if you go in the woods enough, it is pretty common. I park alongside of the road a lot going for hikes. I try not to leave it on the side of a paved road if I'm going to be in there for multiple days, just because it's busier and I don't want it to get hit or surprise somebody at night. So on that note, if you can find a pull-off somewhere, Crown land here always has public access unless it's gated. You can generally pull in some of these pull-offs, get back far enough that you're not going to be blindly visible from the road, and most people aren't going to bother you, at least here.
Yeah. The other thing too.
Go ahead.
Try to park your vehicle so it's least obtrusive, like not in the way, because I've seen some people block pull-offs and stuff where like you could get 4 or 5 cars parked there. Park in such a way that you're being considerate to anyone else that comes behind you.
I mean, just be courteous in general with everything you do, but absolutely. What's this? Trevor85. I carry the 3D printed man parts that screw onto your valve stems. Nothing like giving a chuckle for when someone returns to their car, providing they see it. I did this to a buddy of mine on his motorcycle, and he rode around literally for a month and a half before he finally caught on to it. Wasn't with the one you're talking about. It was I think a Teletubbies one or something like that. It was very brightly colored and flashy, and I thought he'd notice it right away, but didn't.
The other thing that people bring up all the time is animals.
Yep.
Wildlife.
And Ben, how often in we're both in our 40s, so in the 40 years that you've been camping, how often have you had an animal encounter that made you feel threatened? Not the groundhog.
I can't say. What about the gray jay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, then once.
And the reason you can't count the groundhogs because that wasn't in the woods.
No, and the gray jay was at my grandmother's cabin, and I was walking towards her door, and it just dive bombed me like 3 times in a row. And we think it was going after the white on my hood. Honestly, I feel threatened. Other than those 2 instances in my 40, almost 47 plus years, no, it's not really happened. I'm not saying it doesn't happen because yes, people have been attacked by wild animals. We can't belittle that, but it's not super, super common. What's much more likely is that they may get into your stuff. They may damage your tent, your stuff, your food bags, things like that. And that's where it's really important to have good camp hygiene, not leave things that attract animals around, and to secure your stuff as good as you can when you're not there. We have had very little bad luck with that. And it's interesting because I've camped with people who've had bad luck immediately next to me. And that goes to show you that like it isn't the location, it is how you do things. They left a bag of bread open and just tag on it and sitting on top of the table, and they wonder why they woke up in the morning. A raccoon ripped the bag open and eat their loaf from the middle out. Well,
Yep.
He was hungry and it was easy to get to. Right?
And that's things. Don't create opportunities. Most animals are opportunistic feeders. They're going to get the least amount of energy for the most amount of calories. And a loaf of bread, that's easy to rip through plastic. But you know what? If it's in a bag tucked away, they're probably going to ignore it. And much like Ben, I don't think I've ever felt threatened in the woods, and I've seen lots of stuff. I've met coyotes in the woods. I've met bobcats in the woods. I've met the odd bear in the woods. I know Steve can back us up on this one because he did a video where it was a couple of bears walked behind him, and he didn't even notice it, and they didn't even pay him any mind or attention. Now, what does happen, like Ben said, sometimes you can stumble across these things, and they'll be startled, and you can mistake it for an aggressive movement, but most times they're just trying to get away from you in the confusion. It may look like they're running towards you and they're actually going to veer away from you. Bears, like black bears in this neck of the woods, they'll bluff charge long before they're ever going to actually come after you and do any damage. Now, here's the caveat to all this. If you were in an area with active animals that are known to not fear humans, little bit of a different story. If you're up north and you got polar bears, you know what? I would take a few more precautions. You're out in the backwoods of BC, out where cougars and stuff are, you know what? I might be a little bit more cautious. But at the same time, most animals aren't looking to pick fights with humans. Even the really aggressive ones, it's usually only if they can't find something better.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't attract them with food. Don't actually get in their way. Try not to corner them if at all possible. And you're generally pretty okay. And, make noise. Let them know you're there so they're never surprised. Like that's another thing. But other than that, yeah, it's not too bad.
No,
what
not
other
at all.
bad things? Oh, the absolute worst thing in the woods. By far, bar none.
Squirrel for me, man. Those things sound like they're elephant-sized when they're coming through leaves.
I was going to say other people.
Other people, absolutely. Nothing terrifies me more in the woods than meeting someone else. Animals are predictable. They do what animals do.
And that's the one thing I have been in the woods, and this is why sometimes I like the more remote spots. And somebody pulls up next to you with a totally different plan of the type of trip they want to do and you want to do. And next thing you know, they're loud, they're boisterous, they're acting the fools, and you have to deal with that. And also sometimes you can feel threatened, and I can see how certain people would feel more threatened than others. And so there is a few things to deal with that. Always let somebody know where you're going to be. This is always a good advice for anything. And, be able to move away if you have to. And don't let people know that you're completely alone. If somebody just dropped by your site and starts making you uncomfortable, you can let them know that somebody's on the way back. Your whoever is coming, your boyfriend, girlfriend, cousin, niece, nephew, whatever it has to be. And also, what I really enjoy, and I can't push this enough, is have a dog with you if you can. Like bring a pet. People are way less likely to harass somebody with a dog, truly. And they're not likely to stick around. So that really helps. So if you are doing a lot of solo stuff, I do recommend having a emotional companion in the shape of a small bear.
So we are up on 25 minutes here. A couple more things I want to talk about real quick that I do hear a lot is the sleeping in the woods. So sleeping on the ground. If you sleep directly on the ground, even with a good sleeping bag, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, especially if you're a few pounds fluffier than you probably should be for your body size. You can mediate these things with sleeping pads, be it inflatable or foam or whatever. It's all going to add a little bit of comfort. And this is one of those things you may want to try cheaper and then pay a little bit more later, because you can get a lot of good cheaper pads that are going to be very good for you depending on how often you sleep in the woods. If you're only doing it once or twice a year, you can get away with like one of those $20 Inex or whatever they are from Walmart's. Going to be a little heavier, a little bulkier, but they're going to give you a great night's sleep. Now, if you're doing a ton of hiking or you're going deep woods hiking or something like that, then you can invest into like one of these hibernates or something like that. Those real nice, quick inflate ones. I need a little thicker pad because I'm a little heavier. I'm a little almost 300 pounds. So like the real thin ones don't do much for me. Also, I don't sleep on my back. I'm a side sleeper, so that means I need a little bit extra padding again. All these things, if you know it about yourself, you can mediate these things and find what works for you, in all honesty. Or, better yet, invest into a hammock.
Yeah, that's true. I get some of my best nights of sleep in the woods, though. It's quieter. The sounds are much more soothing. Comfort does matter. So getting yourself a good sleep system, whatever it is, and getting used to the sleep system so you're comfortable in it. I have a hammock tent that I use, a few hammock tents that I use. I also have a cot tent that I've used, which gives you a pretty similar lay anywhere you lay on. And again, something to go between you and that surface so you stay warmer. That foam pad works really good in the cots and stuff, or hammocks. But under quilts in a hammock, or I've used the reflective thing you put on your windshield. That helps too, right? That really does make a difference.
No, and that's what I mean. The completely mediated thing. If a lot of people that say, "Oh, it sucks to sleep on the ground," generally it's because they slept right on the ground. Now, one thing I will say is a little hard. Getting off the ground at my age, anyway. Sometimes the knees and stuff pop a little bit more in the morning. But once again, you can do it in such a way that it's really not even that bad. Like, I don't get out of my sleeping bag off the ground the same way I get out of my bed out in my bedroom. You know what I mean? I have learned what works well for me, so I don't put pressure on the bad joints and stuff like that I don't need to do. Like, I got a bad right knee. During this little cold snap we've been going here, it's been absolutely killing me. If I try to put all my weight on that knee, especially if I'm like, getting up off the ground or on my toes, I can pop that sucker out of joint. So I have learned how to mediate that. And once you figure out how to do stuff like that, you just take it with you where you go and customize it. And it doesn't need to be as big a problem as some people may lead you to believe. Now, Trevor here is saying the cheap floats that go in your pool surprisingly work well. Trick is don't fill them to the max. And that is one of the things I will say with some of that Walmart and Canadian Tire or big box mart stuff. Don't fill it to the max because they need a little room to stretch. It's one of those things, fill it up until it's okay. Lay on it for a few minutes, it's going to stretch out, and then maybe fill it back up until it's okay again. Otherwise, you overpressurize the seams and you can get a lot of leaks that way. And on that note, I would be amiss if I didn't mention the old going to sleep on an air mattress nice and comfortable and waking up on the ground not so comfortable. This is a common thing that happens with air mattresses, especially if they're overinflated. And that can suck, in all honesty, because then you might as well throw that thing out for the rest of your trip, because regardless of what you do, even if you have a patch kit, they never seem to hold unless it's on like a big part of the plastic itself. But they never seem to get a hole. They all seem to leak on the seams.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben? I don't think I've ever had a hole in one. It's always been a seam leak.
Yeah, and sometimes the valves. I've had trouble with valves. Valves have been way worse for me.
And that's fair. May My go-to has been the windshield solar thing that has saved my butt many times. And yeah, you can pick those up in the dollar store, and that's just like the Mylar reflective foam that you set in your windshield so that it keeps the heat out. You throw that under your butt, and that Mylar reflects the heat back to you. It creates a wind barrier, and it is amazing for a hammock.
It's super cheap, super easy. If you're getting into it, I mean, you can go to other things later and you're going to spend money. But it offers comparable, if not better, comfort in a lot of ways, other than feel. I think in every other way, like temperature and ease of use and lightweight to carry, it's right up there. The only thing is you can kind of feel it's a little bit weird, but other than that, it's not a big deal, and it works. So I highly agree, suggest it.
And I guess the last thing I wanted to cover was potential injuries. Injuries can suck, and a lot of people are worried that they're going to go into the woods and get hurt. It's like anything else. You can go into town and get hurt if you're not careful. Yeah, you're going to be out in the woods. You need to keep your eyes open. You have to calculate what you do more, but that's half the fun of being in the woods. Is there's a little bit of personal challenge, and you're going to start using parts of your brain that you may not use so much in your day-to-day life. You're going to start being more aware of what's going on around you. You're going to be more attentive to that limb that's right about eye level, you know what I mean? Or that rock so you don't roll your ankle, or the sticks that are about knee-high with sharp points and you don't want to fall so you don't get jammed. This is all things that work on brain skills. Yes, you have to think about it, but if you slow down a little bit and take a look, it's really not that bad. Now, more experienced people may push harder, go faster because they got the experience with it. I can't keep up to Ben. Melissa can't keep up to me. Lily can't keep up to Melissa. Lag length has a little bit to do with that. Skill level has a little bit to do to that. But in Ben's common saying, not everybody's Ben. Don't let that worry you, or not everybody is you. Walk your own walk, camp your own camp, have your own fun. Don't try to let somebody else set your level of fun. Take the time, mediate it, enjoy it. And I think that's the biggest thing with getting out into the woods is take the time to enjoy it. It's not a chore. You're going out there to enjoy it. Some of the hardships, as we mentioned right from the first, are some of the fun. They're only hardships when they're hard. Afterwards, they become great memories. And that's the thing. We're out there making and living memories. Enjoy them. Life's short. Fishing rod that collapses for travel. Quick question for y'all, chat. Do you guys have a preferred fishing rod that collapses for travel? Funny enough, I do. What about you, Ben?
I have used the little telescoping ones. I don't know if I have a brand. Yes, they work fairly well. The rod has never been as big a deal for me as the reel.
Yep.
Try to find something that's pretty solid and going to last. A lot of them come with really cheap reels, and those don't necessarily last. And you'll probably spend more time trying to fix the reel than you will casting. But
So
yeah,
this is the best rod I like. The reel is not great. It's just a cheap one. I had this geared up for when Lily and I were fishing. I just threw whatever reel I found first at the top of the box on it. But this kind of telescoping rod here, I like better than those pocket rods for me. Like they're the little pocket ones, looks like a great big Sharpie marker, and they go out about this long. They're okay. They serve a purpose. They get you out there, but they don't really. That's something I'd carry in my cubby hole or my glove box in my truck if I seen somebody and I just wanted, or seen somewhere I just want to drop a line in and feel it out. I much prefer carrying a rod like this that actually comes out a fairly good length and gives me a good tip on it where I can flick the line and stuff like that where I want it to be when I'm in the woods. Simply because it gives me more control. And like I said, this reel, it's just a cheapie that was on the top of the box. But you can get some real good ones offline. They're small, they're compact, they're well greased with good bearings, they're nice and smooth, they have locking actions. I don't really care about that on the fly fire button. Some people are all about that where it has the little lever so you can cast with one hand. I don't care about that nonsense because I always cast with two hands anyway. So that's one less gimmick that I need to worry about in a reel that I can invest into getting good quality parts in my mind. But yeah, something like that.
I got one suggesting out there, and you're going to laugh at me. Go to the Canadian Tire or Walmart, doesn't matter which. Go to the kids section, and you get the little novelty ones that are about like 18 inches long. And they don't telescope or anything, and the reel is completely self-contained. Those things are amazingly good.
I was gonna say
I
those closed-faced reels are the best thing for in the woods ever.
They don't get tangled up in anything, and that little tiny rod, I am still casting like 70 to 80% of the distance I've cast with bigger rods. And you can catch the same fish on the same hook. So you don't have to spend a fortune on it. But just a quick suggestion, if you're not looking to spend a lot of money, it comes with some hooks and stuff and a dummy lure so to practice with. But you can, especially if you're fishing closed areas like small grown-in rivers and stuff, or the edges of lakes where you don't want to hook up anything, they work really well. And they're not so great for like jigging or hooking it in, like locking it. But for everything else, I found them quite usul.
I was gonna say I've never fishing
you laugh,
monster fish, so I've never had a problem locking it in either. You know what I mean?
But I've used that at my cabin before, and it's surprising. Like, you got the good rods, and I see that, and I'll just give it a quick toss. And man, you can carry it around. It doesn't take up any weight or room. So yeah, that's just something I would suggest for anyone who wants to act a little silly and go in with a Dora Explorer or a Cars one.
I was gonna say mine was Frozen. Willie was into Frozen. That's what we went with. But yeah, anyway. So I think that's a good spot to end it here for tonight. I don't want to leave anybody on a sour note. Like I said, there's rough times, but rough times make good memories. Enjoy them while you can. Hardships pass, memories last for as long as you're around. Unless you pass them on, then they can last until whoever the last person is that passes them on. And that's kind of what this is all about. Long after I'm gone, hopefully these memories remain. Because now I've told all you folks.
Anyways, I should let you go. It's getting hot in here, and I got to get home. But
oh, it's getting hot in there. It's -5 here. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next week. You guys have a good night.